Safe. We're actually here. We're a week in. Can you believe it?
It's been an eventful weekend. It's been a pretty successful weekend, I'd say, for the pod. Not bad.
I'm glad we waited till Wednesday to do this. To be honest, just so that I could collect my thoughts and you could calm down a little bit, and we could be a little bit more.
I ain't calming down anytime soon.
So yeah, I mean, we might as well not waste any time. Like, yeah, obviously you've had a tremendous start, a cracking week. I've had what would be in normal circumstances and a normal game week a very strong week too. But I mean, it's nothing to panic about. I've done all right. We've both done all right.
Yeah,
just a few key decisions has gone your way.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you happy?
I'm very happy. Yeah, I was just thinking. I'm not sure what the actual average weekly score was. Have you seen that?
I've got it up here.
69.
So it's a high average. To be fair. I mean,
so we both smashed it, really.
Yeah. I was worried. I was a bit more worried. I ended up a bit better than I thought I was going to be. And obviously we'll get into it, but could have gone better. That's my kind of overall take. And like, obviously, it's not panic stations. There is obviously like the temptation to make big changes early, but I think neither of us are really in that position with the score that we got. So so yeah, it's a solid start for me, a great start for you, and yeah, I'm just glad that we're into it. Do you know what I mean? We're in the flow of it now.
Yeah.
All right. Let's start with your team then. I suppose let's start.
Let's have a look.
Big score. Yeah, stick it up.
Can you see that?
Yeah. Bang on 100, eh? The century.
I know. Yeah, I was looking at the bonus points. Like, who's my last player to play? Son. I was like, yeah, he's getting 2 bonus points. I don't know why he didn't get 3. I think it was it Son?
Yeah, maybe they gave it to a defender.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so he only got 2. So yeah, put me bang on 100, which is pretty gush.
Yeah, you've got to be happy with that, really.
Yes.
But yeah, look at that overall rank, though. I mean, it just shows how strong a game week it is.
I know.
Because, yeah, I mean, you'd expect to. I thought that you were gonna be in kind of the top 100 easily. But yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Do you want me to should we run through? Should we have a look at your team as well, or do you want to go through?
Well, let's. It's rather than flicking between. Let's just kind of focus on yours. But I'll kind of Let me ask you some questions then. So, so obviously we saw the team before the weekend.
Yeah.
Thank God. All good. I think it was then connection issues. I think we're okay.
Sorry, signal went for a second there. So
right. No worries. Yeah. So obviously, you got off to. You couldn't have asked for a better start really on Friday night with Raya.
A good start for fantasy, not such a good start for.
That's the silver lining. It's
it.
Silver lining to a defeat, to be fair, because
it is.
Yeah. What was he? 1.5% ownership.
Yeah, I think he's had quite a few transfers in. He's up to 3.4, so yeah, not a massive change. He's not going to be going up price anytime soon, but we watched the game together, didn't we? And he was making a lot of good saves. And I saw
one in particular against Pepe towards the end, wasn't there? And yeah, I mean 2 bonus points. Yeah, and also their fixtures are pretty decent, right, for the next few
years. So now I think a lot of people got put off with the fact they were playing Arsenal first, which I wasn't, knowing how shit we were. And yeah, look at their run now. I mean, Palace, they got pretty spanked from what I saw against Chelsea. They were off attacking threat, so yeah, that could be good. And then not bad 3 or 4 games.
It was one thing actually with Palace, just because you mentioned it. So Greg, obviously my bro, is doing it for the first time this season, and when he showed me his team, there was a lot of good kind of decisions in there, and he had one of the things he kind of lent on, which is absolutely the right thing to do, is kind of their last season's total. Obviously, so like I had to point out that Dallas has moved into midfield. He scored points anyway. It's still not a bad shout, but obviously that was why he was so high scoring. And similarly with Guaita, because he put Guaita, he put him in. And but I did say the thing is there was Hodgson, you know what I mean, and they were a pragmatic defensive team, and now as Vieira, they've already kind of said that they want to play a bit more expansive and stuff. So. I think Palace defense is a no-go for me this season.
Yeah, you got to keep on top of stuff like that, like you said, with the change in tactics. Like a team that was previously good, defending is not so good.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it doesn't, a change of manager, especially tactics. Certain people that you just know, like a Roy Hodgson or an Allardyce, that their main kind of focus is making sure they're not shipping goals, whereas. If that's not the case, then those sorts of teams are going to concede, regularly.
Yeah.
So,
and sometimes you're buying into the team rather than the individual. Sometimes, isn't it? So, individually, that player might be a good defender or goalkeeper, but if they're playing in a team that's wide open, then
exactly. Moving on. So,
midday kickoff, wasn't it? United.
Yeah, midday kickoff. So we both obviously we'll come on to mine, but we both captain Bruno and couldn't have asked for a better start than that. Really, I think funnily enough, I captained Salah last year, and when he scored a hat trick on the first day.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people saying Salah scored a hat trick last year. I've forgotten about that. So.
Yeah. So it was Leeds as well, wasn't it? I think
it was. Yeah.
I couldn't have really asked for a better start, and I was already started. The thing was with that is that I got a little bit ahead of myself because, I was kind of hoping that Salah wasn't, he might score or whatever, but he wasn't going to match or get close to that total. And obviously it didn't work out that way. But then the other thing that you obviously did that I didn't in the end, even though I had him in my draft for the whole preseason, was Greenwood.
Yeah.
And it was a good performance, wasn't it?
Yeah. He started up front. Like as we sort of thought that he might do, and Martial started on the bench, and he had a good game. And he played, and they made quite a few sub. I think they'd made. Yeah, I mean, when Martial was coming on, I seen him warming up. I was thinking, last Greenwood going off now, but I think he played the whole. Did he play the 90, or he at least played? Yeah, he played 90.
He did, yeah, but like you say, he was kind of on the left towards the end, wasn't he?
He did peter out towards the end of the second half. Is the game was done and dusted, didn't it? You know what I mean? So I wasn't too concerned about that, but I'm thinking that he's going to be surely starting again. He's not going to get dropped for scoring a goal and playing well.
No, it was a great goal as well, and I think obviously Cavani's going to have a big part to play in United season, but I don't think everybody's been raving about that performance, and I don't think he's going to get dropped, and if he keeps playing like that, he might keep his place, and it's that is one. It's one of my biggest regrets is not putting him in. It was partly the doubling up factor, which I shouldn't really have. It shouldn't really have been a factor. But and it's one that I'm kind of, in fact, Anson, really kind of thinking I need to get them in now. But I'm going to buy my time. The only and just keeping on that game, obviously Luke Shaw turns out that he's the most selected player in fantasy. Game week 1, percentage.
I'm not surprised.
Well, he had him, after the back end of last season and the Euros. It's not surprising, but scored a 1.
Yeah. I can't actually remember the goal they conceded now.
There was that screamer.
Ayling, of course. Yeah. Well, not a lot you could do about that. So
No. Leeds score goals, but it's an interesting one because he's so highly selected now, so you could. I mean, it makes sense to stick with him, but
I think so, because you want to block. That's just a solid block, then, isn't it? You don't have to worry about
pretty much
gaining on you.
Pretty much, and you might be able to bench him occasionally and then kind of catch some people out that way.
Yeah. He was getting forward a lot as well, and he was taking corners from the left, which he was kind of doing towards the end of last season anyway, which is a reason quite a lot of people put him in. So he'll be staying in. My other thing with that game was. I think Greenwood might have possibly gone up in price by now if it wasn't for the fact that Pogba got 4 assists. He's gone up 0.1, hasn't he, already? Pogba.
We'll come on. We'll come on to that because actually I haven't. That's one thing because I'm not planning on changing my team. I haven't actually seen any price rises or anything, so I'd be interested to know.
We'll have a look at that, won't we? Once we've gone through both the teams.
Yeah, we'll have a gander. Yeah. Well, seeing as we've kind of been going chronologically in terms of how the games went, so Saturday afternoon, both your strike partners played.
Yeah.
So pretty strong start from both of them too.
Yeah, Ings started the game as we expected with Watkins being injured.
In fact, you didn't realise, did he, that he scored in the 97th minute?
Nah, like I was just like, I was really quite pleased because Calvert scored. Like I think Richarlison scored 1 or 2, and it was getting on in the game, and I was sort of giving up a little bit. I just thought, well, the main thing is I've got the Bruno captain. Anything else is a bonus. Then just as I was about to like put my phone down, I seen that Calvert-Lewin scored, so I was like, sweet. I thought, yeah, that'll do me. And then it's only after seeing our group chat that he said Ings scored 90 plus 7. So that was a nice little Brucey bonus.
Penalty as well. Yeah. Ideal.
Yeah.
Two good shouts. Again, Ings very highly owned. Calvert-Lewin, we did talk about him a lot kind of in terms of before the week. Yeah, and solid start for him. Everton did look, they did go down to Southampton, but they look stronger than I maybe had thought.
Yeah, the only thing was Keane did give away the first goal. He was sort of at fault, wasn't he? I don't know if you've seen the highlights. But other than that, like I watched a little bit of the game just when I was trying to see if Calvert-Lewin was like getting involved with anything, and he was like on the end of all the corners, like defensively getting them away. So he had a pretty good game other than that, and I'll stick with him.
They did a bit of a piece on him, didn't they, on Match of the Day? I think after the game, and they were saying like kind of showing clips of him, exactly, kind of them looking for him, getting crosses in the box. Obviously, they've brought in Demarai Gray and Andros Townsend, and as much as those two aren't kind of world class wingers, they are two players who will beat a man and get balls into the box,
exactly,
and that's that kind of plan. So I think another good shout. I mean, the good thing about your team here, other than obviously Shaw, which like we touched on, everyone has, Gundo and Keane, like everybody has contributed. Everybody did something. So then I
think that was all my Saturday. Oh no, Liverpool was
and then in the evening, we had the Liverpool game. So obviously, so they kept a clean sheet in the end. And we both went for Jota. He got on the score sheet. Salah was obviously the big scorer, and it's obviously it turned. It's ended up being that those who took that risk to invest in both Bruno and Salah have been heavily rewarded in the first week. And that's I mean, you've done that. I guarantee, considering how many points you've got, the vast majority of people above you would have picked both of those players.
That's it. Yeah, the only people that are above me in all the leagues had both. Captained one or the other. It didn't really matter which one they captained in the end. It got off to a good start that game because Jota scored the first goal.
I know.
And then I think Salah got a like debatable, not debatable, but one of those scabby assists where it's like not really an assist.
Yeah, well, just because you mentioned that, and actually, no, I'll wait for my team. You're gonna guess what I'm gonna vote about.
Okay,
but yeah, all right. But yeah, I mean, like, it's obviously I think as well now is what you're gonna see is especially those people who are unhappy with their first selection. I already know of a couple of people who have done their wild card. For a fact that anyone who's played their wild card this week are gonna make their team so they've got both of them and build it around it. Basically,
they got it. Yeah, otherwise it's a waste of a wild card, really. But
and it is like it's funny because last season I didn't think it was ever that. I don't remember that it being that like heavily both of those players. I think a lot of people had sort of one or the other, or I don't know. I can't remember now.
I remember that Tottenham got off to a flyer last year, so a lot of people had Kane or Son.
And like obviously, Son's another one who did really well for you. He scored the winner against Man City. I watched that game and a couple of times in the first half. He got into promises and positions and stopped and turned back.
I was fuming.
It's like, I don't know what. And then they obviously had a word with him at half time, and he came out and when it's he went for goal as soon as he had the opportunity, basically.
Yeah.
But
that was poor defending, wasn't it? They just let him I can't remember who it was, but it just fell to him. I can't remember now, but it's not
it
great.
was a standard good finish as well, a bit a good finish. And it pains me a little bit because, like I say, he was my kind of number one last season. He's probably the one who I owned for the most amount of time, maybe even all season. I can't remember, but I didn't go for him because of the kind of uncertainty around Tottenham and the fact they were playing Man City, who were pretty poor.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I'm already Son, and we touched on it. Obviously, you look at his stats from the previous season. He is a kind of must-have, and it's a solid start.
He just sits just below the premium options, doesn't he? Where it's
he could easily be more expensive, easily. Yeah. He's undervalued, really, considering how he has performed the last couple of years.
And being the main.
Has his price gone up?
I don't think it's gone up yet, no.
No, still
no, it hasn't. Yeah.
Still 10.
So the other thing to say of the Liverpool game was I had Matey Boy on the bench, which was a bit annoying, but I can't really complain too much.
Yeah, I guess there was a bit of uncertainty whether he was definitely going to play, wasn't there?
Yeah.
But the fixture was very favourable.
Yeah.
But I think most people made that decision. I did too. I was fortunate that he was called upon.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then you have a bench. So you did the same as me and bench Diaz, which ended up being a good decision.
That was a good shout, yeah.
And you went for Balogun, who did actually end up starting.
It was a sneaky one because my mate messaged me. He'd just done his team. He doesn't really take it that seriously. It was Sloaner. And he was saying he's sent me a picture of his team, and I was like, Balogun. And it's we'd just done the pod saying that Balogun's not on the game.
Yeah,
I seen that. I was I'm going to put him in, but I still only put him second on the bench. So I'm glad that I did because.
When did it get announced that Lacazette and Aubameyang were ill? What time?
Midday-ish on the Friday.
I completely missed it. See, I need to be a bit more on it than that. I completely missed that. Now, obviously, I think I was settled with my team anyway and stuff, but I did completely miss that. But yeah, I mean, it purely was. Do you think he's gonna start again in the next game? Or
I think
he didn't play particularly well, did he?
No, I mean, no, he didn't play that great, but nobody did. To be fair, but I think I'll stick with him just because they've already ruled Ober and Lacazette out for the next game, and there has been rumours that because basically they said they're sick, but they didn't say it was COVID. So that was a bit confusing for a lot of
something dodgy going on there for sure.
Yeah, we were like, well, if it's COVID, surely you would say. But I think they have actually come out now and said that it is COVID, and that the reason that they didn't say it was something to do around with the Premier League didn't want COVID plastered all over the being the first game of the season being a downer, COVID again.
Yeah, well,
it was kept under wraps for that's one sort of rumor that I've heard about it. But the other rumor is that they're both unsettled and having arguments with Arteta and that. So we'll see what happens in the transfer window with those two.
Yeah, it's just all a bit weird. They were like you said, they were vague about it. Obviously, you'll see in my team, but obviously Bertrand didn't end up playing because of COVID, and they said it was because of COVID. It was just, and it's both strikers. It's just weird. It's just it just seems strange, but maybe it is, and they just we're a bit vague about it.
Should we move on to your team?
Sorry, go back. There's just because we almost covered the whole lot. I just wanted to.
Oh, there's one more, was there?
Well, I just wanted to touch on. Obviously, Cresswell. We both had him, and popped up with a goal. It was one of them. It was sort of a shot cross, and it just went through everyone and went in.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people on Twitter saying, "Is it an own goal or someone else's goal?"
Yeah.
So I was glad that they stuck with Cresswell.
Yeah. That's the thing with him as well. It's they might not keep as many clean sheets as some other teams, but he does get a lot of goal contributions. So, solid. And then the last one was Gundo. I mean, at the end of the day, I went for any Man City players. Most people, a lot of people went for at least one. And obviously it didn't really work out. But what's that? Is he injured now? Is he? Or
it's saying that he's doubtful. But you were probably surprised as I was to see KDB on the bench, and then he came on.
Yeah, I didn't think he would be back so soon. No.
Yeah, so I'm a bit worried, and the fact that they played Torres up front, it seems like they're going for. I don't know if it's just a one-off, but obviously last season they were playing Gundo or KDB as that like false nine. So I think that's something I'm going to have to keep an eye on, because if Gundo starts playing further back, then I'll have to consider obviously taking him out. But their fixtures, they've got Norwich next, so I'll stick with him for that, I think.
Yeah, same logic as me, basically. Yeah. All right, cool. And yeah, because did Grealish start centre mid? He did, didn't he?
Yeah, so that's another thing I wasn't sure about, because obviously Sterling started, which was a bit of a surprise. So it was Sterling on the left, Mahrez on the right, Torres up front, and then Grealish was like, they played 2-8s, don't they, in that formation? So it was like Grealish and Gundo were the 2-8s.
Yeah.
Fernandinho, I think it was sitting. So yeah, that's something to keep an eye on with Grealish. He played 90 as well, I think. So he's only 0.5 more than Gundogan. See how they get on.
Yeah. Just they just didn't play very well, unfortunately, and they didn't create very much. I do worry slightly if they don't get a striker. And also, I said with my mate when the lineup came out, like the their front five essentially that started. It was Grealish, Mahrez, Gundo, Ferran Torres, and Sterling. Like, take your pick. Like, there's no how are you meant to pick between them? Basically, like there's like you're just guessing basically, because any of them could have a better week than anyone else.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't know whether Man City, unless they do bring in a Kane or something, I just don't know if it's worth it, even worth having one of their players. Because even if they do score 4 or 5, it could be anyone.
That's the thing; they are capable of scoring 4 or 5. But I noticed last season, I think where previous seasons, like where they've lost the title, where they've been too open, going for too many goals, they seem to calm down a bit, and just like once they were like 2-0 up in a game, they'd just be passing it around the back and like. Yeah, so I don't think the City like attackers are as valuable as they used to be.
No, and I just don't like. Also, as much as people laud Pep and he's the best manager ever and all this, like the false 9 thing, it doesn't always work. Like, it can work, obviously, but like it sometimes, like they haven't scored and then has 3 competitive games with the Champions League final, the Charity Shield, and the first game of the season.
True.
And it's like, well, they don't play with a fucking striker. Like, I just don't. So, but like you said, De Bruyne. When De Bruyne's playing, it doesn't really matter because they just give him the ball and like the quality of his deliveries and his like. So, yeah, maybe KDB's the one, but I don't know. I'm tempted. Like with a Son, like for example, or Greenwood, who was playing. Son and Greenwood both basically played up front, and Jota. They're basically 4 strikers, and and like with a Son or a Calvert-Lewin, or if that team scores, there's a high chance it's going to be that player.
That's how
Man City score. There's like a 20% chance that your player is going to be the one who scores.
Exactly, and if they do win like 3 or 4-0 and the goals are shared out, like they might not get a bonus.
No.
Whereas, like you said, if like you've got the main man for like a lesser team like Son, then potentially, I think anyway that overall, I think I was looking last night. We can come on to it, but I was looking at KDB and he doesn't actually score. Obviously, he gets shitloads of assists, but he didn't score that many.
No,
and they do rotate their penalty takers, which puts me off him a little bit. But yeah, we can come on to sort of who we're thinking about next week.
Yeah, go on. Let's have a go at mine then.
Read yours, yeah.
Yeah, let's have a look.
Fantasy Pod Derby.
Yeah. So 3 points to you as well, which is that's.
I noticed you changed your team name as well to Postman Patson.
Yeah, so I was toying between Pat on the Dak or Postman Patson for a while, but normally I once I pick my name, that's it. I'm not one of these who change it during the season. So I think Postman Patson's going to be the one.
Did he play any of the game?
He didn't. No, he didn't. No. I would have liked to have seen him, but we ended up kind of making slightly more defensive substitutions, and he brought on Kelechi. So
so
didn't play.
So is this the team you started with? No, it's not, is it? Because, like you said, Bertrand. Do you want to go over that one?
Yeah. So obviously, yeah. So that was the only kind of So I had one person come in because of Bertrand's COVID case. I was a little bit worried. I'm a little bit worried that he would drop in price, but I don't. I think it's okay. I wasn't gonna play a Leicester defender this week anyway, so he was going to be benched this week anyway. We're away to West Ham, so I figured I'll just keep him. He might not play this week anyway, but then if it's COVID, he should be back after that. So yeah. Tsimikas did come in for me. So I mean, either or, Leicester did get a clean sheet, obviously. So
yeah, you got Norwich after that West Ham game, so you can come back.
Yeah, but then again, if I do, because that's one thing I didn't ask you actually, but you can say after is like who maybe is vulnerable to getting transferred out. But like if I do need to save some money now that Tsimikas is there. I noticed a good option that we'll come on to in defence, a good cheap option. Okay. So I could potentially save some money there, maybe. But I did like Bertrand as a shout, but it's because he was taking set pieces and stuff. But he's not an essential, I think. So he might have to go.
He's one of those. If he did start that first game, you could have got your clean sheet and maybe like an assist or something, and he would be going in price. So I think it was worth the risk, and it's worked out with Tsimikas on anyway, so you played it knowing that could be.
Billy Venk had a really good week. I think he scored like
107.
107. And I looked at his team, and he had Luke Thomas, and I was like, "You lucky."
Yeah, I saw that.
He wasn't. He doesn't support Leicester. He doesn't know. Like Luke Thomas was not going to play that game. Like, and they didn't announce that Bertrand had COVID until the lineups came out. So, yeah. I mean, lucky boy, lucky him. But Ricardo obviously got an assist on the other side. He is an expensive option, but he does look back to his best. So one to keep.
Did Castagna not play then?
No, Castagna he broke his face in the Euros, and he's he was training, but they only just got like a special mask or whatever, and now so I don't know. He'll probably be back in a bit, but. It'd be interesting to see what happens there. But with him, Ricardo back to his best, it's going to be quite hard for Castagna to break in, I think.
And then with Leicester, just while we're on Leicester, you've obviously got Barnes in there. Just the 3 points. But what was your view on his performance?
Disappointing, to be honest.
Yeah,
disappointing. There was one opportunity in the second half where actually what was promising is for a little bit. So he started on the wing with Vardy up front on his own for a little bit before he brought on Kelechi. That he had I think he brought on Vestergaard first, so went 3 at the back and 2 up front, and then Barnes went up front for a bit. And when he was there, he had one that he was put through by Yuri, I think it was, and he could have squared it across the Vards and he could have got himself an assist, but he tried to skin someone and got tackled. And then he also got taken off after like 70 minutes. So
you sort of thought that might happen, didn't
you? That's going to keep happening. That's going to happen every week. So as much as I like Barnes, I think he's got to go. I'm trying to not do any transfers this week, so we'll come on to that. But disappointing. And the same with Riyadh on the other side.
Yeah,
we've talked about Man City and the problems there. That's basically it in a nutshell. Like I do think Riyadh will still start most games, and obviously, like you said, they got Norwich at home next game, so it's worth keeping him in just for that.
He did look like the more threatening one of the attackers.
He had the best chance of the game, didn't he?
Yeah,
that ball fell to him and he skied it. Oh my god! When that was falling to his left foot, I was like, "This is a guaranteed goal."
Yeah, right.
Fine margins, but still, these are the small differences between mine and your team that ended up making a difference. Like Greenwood in that midfield, whereas I've ended up with Barnes and Mahrez. I suppose
it's like it could easily go the other way. Like you said, with Mahrez at home to Norwich, you could score and Greenwood might not even start. So it's still all learning curve at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's like I say, if Mahrez had managed to put that goal in and Barnes had squared it to Vards, then then all of a sudden there's no difference between those picks, really.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't want to panic too soon, but it's just like I already you get an idea for the players that are kind of you need to be looking at, and nobody's looking at Barnes and Mahrez after last week.
No. Do you want to talk a bit about Tony, considering he was first game of the week?
Yeah. So obviously he got given man of the match, didn't he? He got given man of the match.
Did he?
I think so. Yeah.
He did bully us.
On Sky, he did. Yeah, on Sky, he did. He bullied the defenders. They played quite a long ball.
They did, yeah.
Direct game, and he was winning everything, including the header from that long throw. Now, to be fair, when I watched a replay multiple times, maybe Mauri, maybe it came on.
It did look, when we first looked at it, we were pretty convinced it was Tony, isn't it?
It was one of them where I think from one angle it looks like Tony, from another it looks like Mauri. I was surprised. I was convinced that they were going to give him that assist. I was surprised that they didn't.
We went straight on Twitter, didn't we? And looked at Tony. Everyone was just like,
Tony, give it Tony. And then, obviously, sure enough, on review, I mean, I've emailed them directly before about a decision that they've made. So I didn't this time. But yeah, not happy. I was not happy with that. And again, fine margins. But, there was a promising performance from him. But
who have they got next?
I don't know. They got all right fixtures.
Palace,
Villa, Brighton.
That's all right.
And then they've got those 4 where get your Brentford players the hell out, basically.
Yeah.
After that. So I'll stick with him for the time. I'll stick with him until that run of fixtures that we just saw. That's going to be a nightmare. A few same as you. So obviously Shaw, Ings, Cresswell, and Jota, all the same as you. Jota. And again, it's very predictable. It's also predictable that he's not going to start every week, which is concerning.
Yeah,
he did get taken off, even though he's playing well. Yeah, he got taken off for Firmino. And if anyone's going to get taken off out of him, Salah and Mane, it's going to be him, innit, basically.
Yeah, Salah never gets taken off. Mane gets taken off like a fair amount of time, and he usually gets pretty pissed off. Jota, I think, is the most, like I said, is the most likely.
Yeah, I mean, he scored, so you can't knock it really. But you've got, I mean,
it's just, is there somebody for 7.5 that's going to play 90 minutes and has the same threat as him?
Well, Greenwood is obviously 7.5, but you've got both. Obviously, you've got both anyway.
Yeah.
Greenwood is the same price, and then you've got a few others kind of around that price. But then, obviously the other thing I was looking at is if we're looking at doing that Salah Bruno combo, where am I going to save money? And if I did, it would be Mahrez, because I could get a much cheaper midfielder. And maybe upgrade Jota to Salah and have a replacement there. And then I basically worked it out that if I was to do that, maybe I found an extra mil from somewhere else, which could be a Bertrand or a Martinez, who obviously got me the 2 in goal. That could be done without having to play a wild card. Martinez. That was a bit shocking from Villa. 3-0 down to
Watford.
To Watford.
I think he had a howler as well. Maybe not a howler, but I think a few Villa fans were saying that was looking a bit dodgy. But I would still be. I mean, he's got. I mean, you've got potential.
Yeah, look at that. So Newcastle, Brentford, next 2 games at home, and then
obviously when you get to this, when you get to there, it's a bit.
So I think that. Well, that just shows. Keep him in for 2 more weeks, but then I think that there is an opportunity to save money there.
You're also going to have a Tony versus Martinez week there, so maybe you might have to. Think about that, although it doesn't always make a big difference. It's worth considering. Tony is one who could easily be on the bench in this squad. So I'll stick with him for the next couple of weeks. But then, I don't think there's any need to stick with such an expensive keeper when those fixtures come up after game week 3, which is actually the international break, in it. So a bit of time to talk and that. And then. Obviously Sanchez got 2 on the bench as well, so it didn't really matter which I picked. It wouldn't have got me much. And then the bench choices, Diaz and Dele Alli, turned out to be good because they didn't do anything. But again, Ali, he was playing a bit deep, wasn't he? I noticed, like he's been playing more like he was still making those runs. He made one good run. I remember seeing like 50-yard run to get into the box, but he just didn't get found. But he seemed to be a bit more conservative in his approach, so it might be worth keeping an eye on. But when he does make those runs, he can get on the end of things. And
the thing is, like, and again, it's going to be very difficult for me to juggle my team that much, but you know, you're only going to have one Spurs player, and it's got to be Son at the end of the day. That's the realization that I've come to now. Like, as much as Dele Alli is a good price for that for what he could provide, it's got to be Son. So, you know, for me, actually, Son, I prioritize getting Son in over Salah at this moment in time because he's more affordable.
And you've got Jota, haven't you?
And I've got Jota, yeah. And so because obviously, Son he's a mil more than Mahrez. Ideally, I'd like to maybe get a Greenwood in for a Barnes potentially, which is an extra 0.5. But then, essentially, so if Mahrez is an extra mil to Son, then I could save a mil on Dele Alli, and I could do those two transfers. And so we've been for the team. So actually, we'll move on to kind of players that we spotted in game week 1 that could. That maybe we didn't talk about before that could influence our team. So one of them for me was Mbeumo and at Brentford. So he was basically playing up front with Tony. He had their best chances of the game, obviously other than the ones they scored. But he hit the bar. He had a good couple of good chances, really direct and looked really threatening. And he's 5.5, so that would get me that mil from Delhi if I was to do that.
Yeah.
So but then obviously we did just see that run of fixtures that they have coming up after game week 4 from game week 5 onwards. So that wouldn't be much of a long-term plan. Looking there, Ben Rama was another one who impressed.
He's got quite a lot of transfers in as well, 190 odd thousand.
I'm not.
We look at 450,000 transfers. Like this is what I'm saying about like the first few weeks, like where everyone's playing it. You do see massive amounts of transfers getting made.
So looking at this, Pogba, Tsimikas, and Fernandes.
Yeah, and then Richarlison. And Antonio's gone up now as well.
Antonio. That's it. Antonio. Yeah, so actually, just before I finish with my team, actually, so the key errors I made was Greenwood. Don't worry about going back to it. Was not playing Greenwood in, and Wilson for Antonio. I went for as a bit of a differential, and Wilson scored first in that game, so I was happy as Larry. But then obviously West Ham took over in the second half, and Antonio played really well. And now he's gone up. This is the thing. Now he's gone up that 0.1, so I can't even make that straight swap anymore.
I nearly put him in last night, thinking that he was probably going to go up, Antonio. But what put me off was they've got you boys next, which for a start, I think you'll do better defensively than Newcastle will.
Yeah. Even
with your injury problems. And then there's something else that put me off, and I think he's got some sort of fixture. It might have clashed with maybe my defenders. He's got good fixtures. So Palace and Southampton, which after this first week you're thinking, bloody hell, like they're pretty much the two best fixtures you can get.
Yeah.
But I just didn't want to take Ings out needlessly when he's when he scored for me. I mean, if he does have another good week against you boys, he could go up again. I'm kind of hoping that you can keep him quiet and he sticks at 7.6. Or maybe even goes back down, and then I can get him in here.
I can't see him going back down, but he could stick it. That's the thing. I could have put him in for Wilson straight away, but I kind of got other priorities in my team, so I still think Wilson can give me a good return. That's one of those sort of transfers you can panic and do in the first week, without
it is,
and it can go wrong. Just touching on other players that kind of stood out in game week 1. So Shalaba was an obvious one.
Yeah, I've looked because
I thought he'd be cheaper.
4.5, I was hoping, or maybe even 4.
Same.
I don't know much about him, but
no, I'm surprised that how has he been put in at 5? That is weird. I know he played in the Super Cup, didn't he? But they must have already come up with the pricing way before then. So
exactly.
That is weird. I went to check him out and I thought he was going to be 4.5. But a lot of people still put him in. I mean, the thing is, he scored a bit of not a freak goal. It was a great goal, but he's not going to be doing that every week, is he?
No. But Alonso, on the other hand, like, you think a couple of years back, he was a fantasy must-have, and he was like 7 mil.
Mm.
And now he's 5.5, and a lot of people put him in, but I think they're making potentially a bit of a mistake there with there's going to be rotation, I think, between him and Chilwell, isn't there?
Definitely. Surely Chilwell's still the main choice.
Even,
to be fair, Tuchel did rotate them more than Frank did, didn't he? But that seems crazy that so many people put him in just off that 1 week. He could easily not start next week. So
I would like to put a Chelsea fullback in because they look solid and their fullbacks get right up the pitch. But then if they're going to get subbed every week, one, they might not get the clean sheet thing if they come off before 60. And if they're coming on and you've started them, then they're probably only going to get you 1 point. And then you're first on the bench, won't be coming on. They might do something. So it's a bit of, I would maybe wait with the Chelsea defence just to see who he's favouring and how often they're starting and how many minutes they're getting.
Especially for the like you say, especially the fullbacks. I think, and again with Shalaba, he's had a great start, but is he actually going to be starting every week? I don't know. That seems a bit far fetched. I'm surprised to see so many people put Schmeichel in just because,
and Pereira as well.
I know Pereira at that price. I'm surprised, not because because his performance warrants it, and but I've had him before because he is such a threat. But actually, in terms of goal winners and assists, he's never been that high. I mean, I don't know
he's just a bit of he's an all rounder, isn't he? But he just done I mean, one season he got 8 assists, but
eight for a defender who doesn't take set pieces is good, but it's still he's expensive, and same with Smikes. It's like I just don't think we should never have kept a clean sheet in that game. Like Traore, who is another one who, I mean, if he could finish, he would be a must-have, especially at 6 mil. But he missed one absolute one-on-one that he should definitely have scored, and a couple of other good chances.
What about Amati?
No.
He's not going to be staying in the side for long.
No. Like Johnny Evans is back after the international break, and Vestergaard started on the bench only because he'd only been there for a day.
Yeah,
like there is a chance that against West Ham and and at some games he might play 3 at the back, and Amati might play again next week. But as soon as Evans is back, he's not going to play. And even next week, and if we do play with 4 defenders with 2 centre backs, he's not going to play either. So his only chance of playing now is if we play 3 at the back, basically.
Yeah, and usually when you're putting in like a 4 mil player, it means that you're then going to tinker with the rest of your squad with the money you're saving. So if you're then only going to take him out again in 2 weeks' time, you either have to replace him for another 4 mil, who's probably there's not that many that are actually going to play. Or you're going to have to make those transfers back again, and you're going to be losing points.
It's another just week 1 rash decision.
Yeah,
there was 1 4 mil defender who I spotted, who was my shout for maybe a cheaper option is Hoover, Wolves.
Wolves, mate, is it?
Yeah. So they got him from Liverpool, right? And and I think he's played against Leicester. He played pretty well. And then I just had a little look, and it looked like he'd been featuring pretty heavily in preseason and stuff.
I remember him playing a few games for Liverpool.
Yeah, and he's actually a right back or a left back rather than a centre back. So, I'm just keeping an eye out again to see if he plays again this week.
Yeah,
Wolves are pretty solid defensively, to be honest. So I think that 4 mil. I think that's a better 4 mil option than Amati anyway. Put it that way.
Any team playing 5 at the back with an attacking fullback is usually, you can't go too far wrong, can you?
No, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Quite a few people putting Sarr in, I guess, at 6 mil.
That was one that Billy had.
It was
a good shout. I did have him. He was in my very first draft, I think.
Yeah.
It wasn't a tidy finish though, was it? It's sort of like
he's
deflected in. It was a deflection up and in.
Yeah, the jury's out on him for me. Like he's still a bit on like Traore's level, where it's like he's got all the like attributes to be a quality player, but mentally, has he got the
Yeah, and like Ben Rama at the same price, I think, for someone who's, going to be starting in that West Ham team, which is easily a top 10 team now. I think that, if I had to pick out of the two for that price, I'd definitely be going Ben Rama.
I mean, Ben Rama could be a potential swap for you for Ali, couldn't they, if you're looking to save money? I just think maybe second season with Ben Rama, he could maybe prove.
Yeah, he was a little bit in and out of the side last year, wasn't he? I think
Yeah.
they sort of, but it looks like he scored a screamer in preseason, and it looks like he's going to be an important player for them. So, and in the Championship, he had mad returns, didn't he?
Oh yeah, he was like goals and assists galore, wasn't it? So if he can replicate that now he's settled, it'll go up quite quickly. I was looking at potentially this guy, Dennis. He scored, didn't he? Because obviously I've got Balogun at 5 mil, so that would be a nice easy swap for me if I potentially wanted to make some money on him. I was thinking maybe if he's this injury, he's nothing to worry about, and then he scores again next week. He could be going at 0.2. I can then shot him, make a 0.1, and then that might be the 0.1 that I need to get Antonio in. Although it would take a bit of jigging around, but
when I saw his squad, I realised actually it's at Emmanuel Dennis, isn't it? So he was at Club Bruges, wasn't he? And I think it was. I had heard. I think Leicester were linked with him at one stage, but he was at Club Bruges, and what did he get? 19 goals in 85 games there, so hardly prolific. But I know that he was getting like good, kind of getting talked about when he was there.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's got to be the cheaper starting striker if he's going to be starting long term. 5 mil. Watford look like they're going to be playing quite attacking, so it's a good cheap option, I think.
I was surprised to see Vardy there at 10.5 transfers in. I know he scored, but I just even with Lukaku, I'm still not sold on this premium strikers.
It depends, right? I was thinking about this because, say, back in the day, like an Henry, I know it's an exception. I know it's an exception, but an Henry or a Van Nistelrooy or a Suarez,
you had to have them in.
That they would have been well worth the price. But in the last couple of years, especially with Man City, not really playing a striker, Aguero always being injured. Liverpool's goals all coming from midfielders, like fantasy football midfielders. Anyway, you don't really have those elite strikers who are scoring loads of goals. But Lukaku could be.
Yeah, but we both sort of, I think we said in our group chat as well that Werner could be one to keep an eye on. 2.5 cheaper. If he reaps the rewards from Lukaku's, I don't know, hold up play, or they form a partnership. It's going to be interesting to see will Werner start playing on the left? Will they play? I doubt they'll play 2 up top. But they've got Arsenal next, so they could be goals galore. I think with that game, it's one of those games where everyone's going to be putting bets on Arsenal to get smashed 3 or 4. But I just think we'll set up ultra defensively, how we tend to do anyway. So it might not, I think they'll beat us comfortably, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be a 4 or 5 like people think. I could be wrong, but
no, I agree. I see exactly what you mean, and I think Lukaku himself, it's just worth still just waiting a little bit, even one game, just to see what the dynamics what happens.
And again, he's not going to be on penalties, is he? Because Jorginho, so that already takes away quite a few goals that he was getting at Inter.
Yeah.
Unless he does take the pens. Obviously, if he does, then he's got to be considered.
It does spice things up a bit, though, because it just means that now, it's rather than everybody just going for Salah and Bruno.
Yeah.
Now now Lukaku's in the mix as well, so you've got kind of
and KDB being back. I mean,
and De Bruyne back as well. Exactly.
I was debating with the 2 premium option. Is do you just, if you are going to go down that route of the 2 premium option, it could be a shout, and then rotate between those sort of 4 depending on fixtures. But then again, the money's going to go up and down between them, so might not be as easy as that.
And I think the thing is about Lukaku is a bit harder because whereas you can just swap out one of your premium midfielders for another, if you're doing it for a striker, that adds a slight extra layer of kind of complication, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So actually, just on that note, I say we got about 10 minutes left. So looking ahead, so neither of us are planning on doing any transfers, so we might not do a reveal this week. So it's a bit pointless if we're going to kind of have.
That's
the same.
True, yeah.
So what's your kind of thinking behind that?
But behind no transfers.
Yeah.
Well, one, I'm trying
other than the fact that you've had a great start.
Well, one, I'm trying to be a good boy with the transfers. So if I'm going to do a transfer this week, when I've got 100 points, then I'm going to be making 2 or 3 transfers a week when I'm not. So my thoughts are don't get too carried away with the price rises. Simicast I've already got, so I'm happy with that. Fernandez. I could have took Greenwood out and put Pogba in, knowing that Pogba was going to go up.
You did mention it, didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah, but I just thought again, save my transfer and then maybe play 2 for if I get an injury or something like that. It's good to have it in the bank.
I'm surprised that Greenwood hasn't been more transferred in. Actually, to be fair,
I think so. I think if Pogba didn't do as well as he did, then that would potentially be Greenwood going up lots in price. But I'm thinking, looking at the fixtures. I mean, I'll show you what I've done at the moment in terms of my starting team. I'm still thinking about maybe changing Gundo, purely because they've got Norwich as a go. I think these have all got quite respectable fixtures to get clean sheets. But for me, I think my main conundrum is between Cresswell and Gundogan. I think, but not a bad selection, a headache to have.
No,
and other than that, I'm just pretty happy with it, really.
No, those fixtures are pretty not bad at all on the whole. I think, I think I'm also still, with the squads that we have, it's no surprise, but also kind of probably going to go for Bruno captain again at Southampton. Obviously Southampton doesn't look particularly solid defensively against Everton, so kind of going to stick with Bruno, I think, there as well.
I think I'll be Bruno captain again. What's the other option? Who've Liverpool got? Liverpool are home to Burnley, aren't they? So again, it is a bit of a conundrum.
I mean, I'm obviously hoping that Sean Dyche is going to keep them at bay a little bit.
An interesting one actually because a lot of people will be putting Salah captain. I had a quick browse through on Flash Scores, and Salah's only ever scored 1 goal against Burnley. That might not mean anything.
It's good to know. It's good to know.
Yeah,
we can all. I can hope. Do you know what I mean? So obviously Diaz will come in as well, same as you. But that's the thing. I think both of us, because we've had good solid starts, and our fixtures are we can easily make a good 11 in terms of fixtures as well. There isn't a pressing need to make changes, and also because we're probably both thinking of multiple changes. That require some money being moved about. Having that extra transfer next week will help. So what I'm thinking of doing is, banking that transfer. So I've got 2 free ones next week, and then maybe doing 3 transfers and
for a -4.
For a -4, if I need to get the player that I want, if it takes 2 out to get 1 in, then I could do that, and it just allows me that kind of flexibility to go, whether I go for a Lukaku or
that's the main conundrum at the moment, isn't it? Is that do you go 2 premium or do you spread the load? At the moment, I'm more inclined to think don't get carried away with the 2 premium, but that could all change if one of them. I
do think the one thing with the 2 premium teams is that when you I've only scrolled for a bit, but the teams that I saw, those that have both, they are a bit thin on the bench.
Yeah.
And it's all good for game week 1, and it's all good for the fixtures when you've kind of looked at the first few fixtures. But eventually, Salah and Fernandez are not both they're gonna score a lot of goals, but but Salah will get you the odd 2 and stuff. And the fixtures, won't always be favourable. And if you don't have those options on the bench, some weeks it will cost you.
Yeah, I think you're if you've got we've both got Fernandez and Jota, then it sort of lessens the blow, because if Salah does bang, then you're thinking that Jota maybe might have got an assist for him, or he might score himself, or same with Greenwood. If you haven't got Fernandez in your team, then maybe a Pogba or a Greenwood can soften that blow as well.
Yeah,
that's the way I'm sort of looking at it.
Yeah,
I'm a bit worried about having no Chelsea players, but they've got quite hard fixtures, I noticed.
Yeah, and well, I was very surprised that Havertz didn't start. I don't know why that was. Is that whether that was just tactical or because he played in the Super Cup? I don't know. But I was because he was the one that we were both kind of thinking about, weren't we? And like, I'm not putting Pulisic in because he's just a letdown. Right? I've been, he's let me down too in the past. Ziyech already gone down 0.1 because of that injury. Wow. I mean, how did people not realize that he wasn't available? Don't get it.
I think Werner is the one that I'll be looking at the most closely, just because he's not that far of a stretch from Calvert or Ings.
No,
I don't have to make silly changes to get him in.
Looking
at it the same way as, like I'm saying, with Jota can soften the blow. Maybe Werner can do that with Lukaku, but you could easily go for someone like Jorginho at 6, who he's usually on the penalties, isn't he? And he can get the odd assist.
Mount. Yeah, I don't really like. I'm not a fan of getting centre midfielders in the team because they take pens. It's just
not really.
It's going to be very occasional they'll get a pen, but it's not exciting, is it? It's like even if he does score, that'll be it. So I've never been into. There've been a few like that in midfield, but not for me. I think for me, I don't want to just go for Salah for the 2 premium. What I might do, and what I'm considering is, it's like if I can upgrade a Mahrez to Son, and then maybe what I'm basically thinking is that my squad is maybe a little bit too strong, and what I could do is have a couple of cheaper players who aren't deadwood that aren't going to play, like still good options to have on the bench, but just not quite so expensive, and then focus a little bit more on getting a strong 11. So that's the kind of way that I'm thinking of. That's the direction that I'm heading in. But but rather than wild card or anything like that, it's just going to be over the next few weeks, just kind of moving in that way.
You've got options like Souček, who like 6 mil, and he's pretty proven now. He's already scored. You can easily drop some, like a turn a 7 into a 6.
Yeah, exactly. And same with my goalkeeper. Same with Bertrand. There are there's 3 positions there where I could easily save $1 million on each. And still have a strong squad. And then that extra $3 million that could bring in a Son and a Werner, or one more premium. So I think that's basically it. I did. Again, I did kind of think that my squad was a little bit on the strong side, but before last week, I wouldn't have thought about Hoover, for example.
No,
I wouldn't have thought about I don't know, Raya, maybe. So even though I did have him in for a sec, but sometimes it's when it's only when the games start, especially the bargain players, that you actually see who they are.
That's it, because there's quite a few 4 mils this year. Just looking at it, that have played 90 the first week, and Duffy was one of the ones we talked about. He did actually start. I know they lost to Burnley, didn't they?
Yeah.
But 4 mil. They
turned it around and beat Burnley, didn't they? Or was it?
Was it?
They came back and won, but they did. But exactly
that Manquillo, Newcastle. Okay, they conceded 4 the first week, but normally they're not bad defensively, and it's Steve Bruce's defensive coach. And then in the 4.5 category, like White eventually could come good. Midfield, nothing really there.
Yeah. No, exactly. And then have a look at 5.5 midfielders a second.
Because I think you've got I'm on team selected by at the moment, but Smith Rowe, when our fixtures get better, he looked sharp the first game. He's like one that I
those
would.
next two fixtures are Chelsea and Man
Then
City.
after the break,
and he did play. He was Arsenal's best player. But yeah, that so 5.5. Yeah, you got him. You got Mbuemo, like I touched on. Dallas is there. So yeah, there are ways exactly to basically just have a bench that's still going to play, could still get points, but is a lot less expensive, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool. Sorry, let me just
That's turned off, yeah.
Cool. All right. Look at that, bang on an hour. Yeah, maybe if it depending what we can do is if we're doing one a week, we can do an hour. If we're doing 2 a week, we can make them a bit shorter. But
so I've just noticed before we go that the person that we don't know who it is, WJTS, is in the comments, has said hi. Whoever you are, WJTS, can you reveal you?
Yeah, can you actually let us know who you are? Because actually, like, I fully appreciate all your comments.
Yeah, man.
And you're clearly engaged and liking the content. So yeah, I haven't written anything back yet because I don't know who you are, so it's a little bit embarrassing. But
I think you must be someone. I think you're someone from our fantasy league potentially, but maybe not. But yeah, let us know in the comments and
and to everyone else, where are you for a start? And yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe this vid, and we'll catch you next week. Hopefully, I'm coming. I need 3 points in the bag, nice and early against you in our head-to-head.
Yeah,
and hopefully close that gap as well. So watch your space.
All right, man. All right, good luck.